Peoples living in the Arctic regions, Inuit, Yupik, Inupik, and other groups, have developed complex social systems throughout history to adapt to extreme cold, famine, and isolated living conditions. These systems include traditions that seem different from the norms of Western societies, but are completely practical and solidarity-oriented. At the heart of these traditions lies the struggle for survival and the understanding of collective well-being, social structure and dynamics of marriage, polygamy, and economic capacity. Historically, polygyny was seen only among individuals who were able to manage resources decently. For example, a successful hunter could take a second wife if he proved that he could feed an extended family. However, this situation was exceptional. The majority of the society was monogamous. This practice, unlike Mormon or Islamic polygamy, was not a status symbol but a rarely resorted to economic strategy. Hospitality and temporary partner sharing. In some groups, temporary sharing of spouses, mate exchange, within the scope of guest hospitality rituals was seen as a kind of gift economy that strengthened social ties. Although this practice is a behavior that can be misunderstood from a modern Western perspective, it was based on solidarity, trust, and the aim of ensuring the fair distribution of resources. Especially during long hunting trips, it was encouraged in this way that the families who stayed behind supported each other. Collective responsibility of children were seen as the common responsibility of society rather than biological. As if a woman became pregnant by another man, the child would be accepted by society, and its care would be shared. This understanding was critical for the sustainability of the population and the protection of orphans. Sexuality and social norms, sexual freedom and practical approach, sexual experience during adolescence was not considered taboo. Young people were encouraged to gain experience with their partners before marriage. This situation, in contrast to the concept of virginity in the West, finds meaning in a society where reproduction and compatible partner selection are a priority. The ritualistic dimension of wife exchange. Wife swapping was connected with some shamanistic rituals. For example, in ceremonies held to increase the fertility of a hunt or to communicate with supernatural forces, the temporary exchange of partners was associated with the belief in energy balance. However, these practices were not common in all communities and differed regionally. Gender roles and flexibility. Traditionally, some individuals, referred to by terms such as sipanik, could have had a different status in society by stepping outside of their assigned gender roles at birth. For example, an individual born biologically male could wear women's clothes and assume social roles, and this would be considered natural. Reflections of difficult conditions. Difficult decisions, infanticide, and demographic balance during periods of famine. The survival rate was low, especially for girls. This painful choice would have been made in order to preserve the number of men who would hunt for the sustainability of the population. However, this practice has been completely abandoned in modern Inuit communities. Inbreeding and its genetic consequences. In isolated communities, cousin marriages or reunions with close relatives were inevitable due to the limitation of options. However, this condition has led to health problems caused by a lack of genetic diversity. 20. It has changed over the century as interaction with outsiders has increased. Westernization and cultural transformation, the influence of missionaries. From a century ago, Christian missionaries banned polygamy and shamanistic rituals, stigmatizing traditional Inuit sexuality and marriage practices as immoral. This situation has caused deep cracks in the social structure. Change in modern Inuit society today, Inuit have harmonized with global norms on marriage and sexuality, while maintaining traditional values, hunting, solidarity, language. For example, wife swapping is rarely seen anymore, and official marriages are based on monogamy. Important notes and terminology, problems with the term Eskimo. This term is considered vulgar and generalizing by many indigenous communities. Original names should be used, such as Inuit in Canada and Greenland, Yupik in Alaska. Cultural sensitivity. Early anthropologists' descriptions of primitive or exotic misrepresented Inuit culture. Current studies emphasize the resilience and adaptability